My name's Spencer, and I will be talking about my personal challenge, which is about a computer I started to build about 2 years ago. Now, I was thinking about it for a while to build a computer, and then I started on actually wanting to do it about a year ago. Now, from that point on, I went from doing, stuff on Macs to, consoles, and I didn't really like them that much, so I went on to something else and I wanted to get on PC. So I started off with a list, which was, starting off with the basics, which was processor, which is a Core i7-870K unlocked, so you could overclock it, but overclocking isn't that a very good point to do on it, just because you're just burning out your CPU and there's really no point to. But I started off with a pretty good processor, which is that, and then I started looking at a motherboard, which was the, I'm not even going to attempt the name, you guys figure it out. It's a very good motherboard, and it comes with Ethernet, not Ethernet, I apologize, Bluetooth, internet and Bluetooth combined with it, which is very rare to see in motherboards these days, and I can take it off and on if I want. It's a little antenna. And then I went from the motherboard to the graphics card, which is right here. I went for the GeForce GTX 1080 because if you guys haven't noticed, this is a Intel build, this is an AMD build, so I went for GTX 1080. If anybody doesn't know what the difference is, they're just pretty much different components. It's like Windows and Mac, it's just different operating systems. So I went for a 1080 because I knew a 1070 for doing art and that kind of stuff wouldn't be that good for it. A 1070 wouldn't be that powerful to actually deal with the kind of art I would be doing, that kind of stuff. And I needed a good processor too, and both of those would be good for gaming too. So, and then I looked at a cooler, which this is a cooler. This is an NZXT cooler. It's a Kraken. It's a 240 milliliter liquid cooler, which is really good. There's 120s and then there's two 280s. They're really good. I've heard really good reviews about it, and it's dual fanned with a radiator, which it has to be because of how much it's a 280 milliliter fan. 280 milliliter radiator, so it needs to need that much pumping through it. I've heard really good reviews about it, and it has RGB, which everyone loves. I love it. If you don't, you have issues. Okay. That thing is the power supply, which the power supply I couldn't cheap out on. Most people shouldn't. If you are trying to build a computer, do not cheap out on the power supply. It is one thing that you must not do. The power, it goes, if you see in the bottom right down, it has a gold plus, which it goes from bronze, silver, gold to platinum, and then it goes from up to it goes 60 plus for bronze, and then it goes 70 plus for that, and etc to 100. So this is a medium. It's a very good power supply, and it's a 700. And another thing about power supplies is you never want to undershut your actual power supply. If you do that, then you'll have issues with power, you'll have issues with blue screens on Windows, and issues with actually everything just crashing, which you don't want on a computer. So, and then to the actual memory, which I got G-Skill Trident's RGB RAM, because who doesn't like RGB? And it's over, and I wanted memory that's over 300 megahertz, so it's really fast. Not RGB, sorry. What's the name? DDR4 RAM, sorry. The DDR4 is the best for gaming, and it's the fastest out of all of them right now. But some people say it's debatable with the GDDR5, but I don't know. Actually, I might be wrong about that, but do your own research for RAM. That's kind of a personal thing, how much megahertz you want on it. I went with Samsung, 500 gigs, an 860 EVO Samsung, 500 gigs. I went with this because I knew Samsung was a reliable source for like any kind of memory, anything like that. Is probably one of the best. Samsung is really good at batteries. Let's not talk about their phone because that exploded. This is the hard drive. I don't have a case for this, but this is a Seagate 2 terabyte hard drive. I don't know the complete name, but I know it's a Seagate 2 terabyte hard drive. This is the only thing that came in a brown box. So, now the next thing would be my keyboard, which is a Black Widow Chroma V2. I hate the names for these things, but hey man. I like kind of a longer response time for a keyboard, just because it feels like you're doing more, even though it's just a keyboard, but it feels like you're doing more than just clicking a key. But another reason why was because I got a tiny little, tactical clicking. No, it wasn't worth it. But it's a good over keyboard. It has a lot of buttons. It has 6 right here, 6 programmable keys to put whatever key you want on it. It's good. And this is the Razer Mamba Terminal Edition, which pretty much just has controls on the top, controls your DPI buttons, how much DPI you want. Maybe you want to switch it on the fly. You can do that. You can put presets, so you can change it if you're doing something else than what else you were just doing. So like sniping versus using an AR or something like that in the game. And it's got 2 side buttons on the side, which is really helpful for, anything. You could program it for anything onto it. So those are just helpful for anything. Then the last thing, this was just because, I don't really like cloth type ones. I like more like an actual hard case one. Most people debate about saying that this is better. This is worse than just having a cloth one, but I didn't really want to take care of something that might break down in a couple of years, so I just rather go for something like this that's a bit harder. So it's completely hard. It's not anything else. All this stuff, to keyboards, that kind of stuff, this is all personal. Choose what you want. Anything that feels comfortable to you, you choose. And then for the case, I didn't really, have that much of a choice. I went for kind of a basic case because I don't really care about the case that much. It's more the components that's inside, and that's a part of it, is that whatever you're doing, you choose what you are going to do with it. That's the great thing about building versus, doing something that you pre-build. And I get that question comes up a lot of places. Internet, people ask, like, if is it better to build or is it better to buy? And I don't know. Really, mostly it's on what you want to do. If you want to learn a lot about this, is a great thing to do, to learn about computers, everything you want to do about it. And, for me, I would say go for it. If you don't really have that, you're not that afraid of ruining a very expensive processor. So, but for the case, you just want to, if you're not really into the aesthetics and you don't really care, I just go for a basic case, ATX. If anybody doesn't know what that means, that there's the differences between mini ATX and ATX just means the size of the actual motherboard. So if you see here, this has 4 DIMM slots. That means that I can hold more RAM. So in later days, I'm either going to get, because this has more, it has a SATA slot, another slot for my graphics card, and it has 2 more DIMMs for my RAM. So I'm either going to pick up more RAM later when it's on sale, or another graphics card when it's on sale. But other than that, really pretty much what it does, it shrinks down the size of it. That's the difference between a SATA. So it might only have 2 DIMM slots and 1 SLI port for your graphics card. That's pretty much only the difference between that. and it uses less power than original sized ATX. And then this is a monitor that my parents gave me because they were generous enough and realized that I was poor after spending so much money on a computer that's very expensive. So they gave me a very nice monitor that is eye care. You know, I don't really know what that means. I'm probably going to have to do more research. But this is more of a designer monitor, so it's kind of does everything that I want. It doesn't do as much hertz that I want, but you know, other than that, it's a really good monitor, and it's much more light based. So when I switched over from using something like the Mac to this, it really showed how much color and everything and pigments. It really showed the differences. But the parts out of the way, to ask the question, you know, was it better to build it or that? To me, is complete worth it. I tried to build it a couple months ago. I tried to build it on my own, and then realizing that I can't do it, I handed it off to somebody else, and they were very surprised that I even attempted to do it, which I was amazed by. I thought they were going to be like, something else, but they were very surprised that I even attempted to do this, which I was thankful for that they said that, because for the longest time I just thought it was going to be very simple, but there's a lot of ports and there's a lot of things that I could connect it to, which would have burned out most of my stuff if I did it, which I was smart enough not to do that because I've done a lot of research on it, so I didn't mess with it or anything. But here's a clip. The audio for this clip is really bad, so I decided to just voice over it. It's better that way for me. I wanted to say that this was shot a couple weeks before. This is me fiddling with the power supply, trying to figure it out. You can see that the graphics card and the motherboard's put in, and with the cooler and everything, just wasn't put in yet. So, I was trying to figure out all the cards at this point. This is about the end of the day. This is like right before I stopped doing everything. But just on a couple notes, this is just a couple of things I wanted to say for the year ends and stuff, and for Christmas. Just want to thank my parents. I want to thank my LC, Jarrett. I want to especially thank my tutor, Nina. She did the camera work for this. The camera might fall a bit. She'll probably kill me in the new year if she hears this. But I just want to thank everybody that's helped me throughout the year. Yeah, I appreciate you all, and Michael, my teacher, which was kind of gave me the inspiration for this idea a while ago. So 2 years I wanted to do this. For about 2 years I wanted to do this, but I never really wanted to until a while ago, and when Michael really got me in, started thinking about it. So I appreciate it, Michael. You were most of the inspiration in this video. I appreciate all you guys' help, and can't wait until to make future videos. See ya. One last note before I go. When I said megahertz for the RAM, it's 3000, not 300. 300 is like running on a toaster. Sorry for the miscommunication. So if you probably saw in that clip, I was very frustrated, which was to do with the issue was that I was trying to build it. That was about 5 hours in, which I got really frustrated, and it was frustrating for me because there's a lot of things that can go wrong with that, which is to do with the computer, because every component in this computer, in every computer, has a buffer, which is to do with the actual amount of power that can be surged into it. Now, if there is a surge, what the buffer will actually take that energy, and the second it gets put into it, it puts it in it's like a dead zone pretty much. It will shoot it into somewhere else, and the power supply will immediately shut off and make sure that everything is saved and shut off. Now, yes, if you have something open that's important, it might not get saved, but it will save your components completely. And that's the same thing I forgot to add in the last video, was about Windows. Sorry for the last part. I forgot about Windows. I got Windows 10 Pro. I don't have the case with me right now, but I have Windows 10 Pro. Now, and one issue with Windows, if you do a custom, one issue is that you are the manufacturer. So understand that if you call Windows and ask them to help you, you might not get help because you are the manufacturer. They expect you to help yourself. Now, if you buy a pre-built, that's different. That like NZXT, they have a pre-built, but it's a bit more customizable. You choose the parts that you want. You go and do the stuff that you want to do, the kind of parts, how big your SSD is, everything like that. So it's in the middle, but it'll be a bit more pricier because you are actually paying for a pre-built with a warranty, plus you're paying for actually making the computer. So, there's that too aside. And so, I started off with PC Picker and Amazon and Newegg and Memory Express and Mike's computer shop, which I did. And by the way, each part were separate places. So I got Mike's shop. I got the graphics card from them. Now, the graphics card is based off of the original NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1080. I can't remember the original. I can't remember the name of it, but it's based off of the same stats of it. That's why I went for it. It was much more basic. It's a very good, reliable card. That's why I went for it, because it was based off of that card. And then from Memory Express, I got the CPU, the motherboard, and the SSD from them. So pretty much the brains of the computer I bought from them. And so they said, if you have any issues, give us a call. And so I couldn't build it myself, so I went to them explaining my issues, and they said that they could build it, and they thought it was pretty cool what I was doing with everything that I did. And most people around me thought I did, it was a pretty good idea what I was doing. So, after that painful incident upstairs, I decided to just allow them to do it instead of trying to, do it myself. So, I kind of felt a bit defeated, but, I'm happy that I allowed them to do it instead of me. And then from the other stuff, most of the other stuff I just got from Amazon, like the power supply, the hard drive, and the RAM. And then the case I got from Newegg, that one. And then, yeah. But, Challenge really questioned, which one's better, either to build it or to buy one. I really enjoyed my experience trying to put it together and everything. So, to me, I think if you want to and you have the money, go for it. If you just don't really care about computers but you want to play games, go buy one. Go buy one from Best Buy. Best Buy is the best. They give you tons of options for that. Just know the basics about a computer and what you want it for, and you can go from there from anything you want. Now, it's all that you want. The only reason I got this souped up one was because I do art, which takes a ton of everything from a computer. The CPU, it takes a ton of cores from it. It uses a lot of the graphics card. It uses a lot of everything. Now, one thing I wanted to touch on that I didn't touch on is about the SSD and hard drive. Always have at least one hard drive. You can have as many SSDs as you want, but always have one hard drive. Now, a hard drive, people will say, well, it's way slower. Why use one of your 5 ports, one of your 6 ports, because this one has 6 SATA ports on this. And the SATA cable connects to your memory, which is SSDs, hard drives, like etc. So why would you at least have one hard drive? You could use an SSD. Yes, you could, but there's really not that much point to have 5 SSDs. Okay, Always have one for one reason only, is for cameras and cases, because SSDs, I'm pretty sure, cannot be repaired. Hard drives are hard drives for a reason. Why is the SSD way faster? Because it's not printed on a disk and then you have to delete it from that disk. It is put on an SSD, which is fast moving data that's going back and forth. And then a hard drive is much more slower, but it is much more secure if you have data that you want to keep on that. So if you have photos or anything, if you're that kind of person, don't go for just SSDs. Yes, it would be worth it, but in the long run, it wouldn't be if a surge came through, blew your buffers, and just destroyed your thing. You'd rather have a backup on your hard drive. I think I pretty much said everything. I appreciate whoever watches this. Thanks for watching.